Hello again. Welcome to the latest edition of the Hubert Davis Show. As you can imagine, we are really looking forward to the next hour, talking Carolina basketball with the head coach of the Tar Heels, Hubert Davis. We have a bunch of questions to get to. Of course, Carolina with the big-time victory on Saturday in Durham over Duke, 94-81, the final there. We'll talk about that. And now Tar Heels got to move forward to the ACC tournament. That's not easy to do either after all the emotion from this past weekend. We'll talk to Coach about how the Heels plan on handling that. But, Coach Davis, first of all, great to see you. Yeah. And secondly, nowhere else to start but 94-81 on Saturday night. What a spectacular evening for your team. An incredible win as well.
Yeah, it was a special night for our team and for our program. Going into that game, Duke is an unbelievable team. They're one of the better teams in the country, and obviously, Coach K and what he has meant not only to Duke University and to their basketball program, but just for basketball in general. It was just an amazing night. They had so many former players celebrating the last home game of Coach K in Cameron Indoor Stadium, and it was really a pleasure to be able to see and to be able to experience all the things that were going on in terms of celebrating Coach K. But one of the things that I talked to the team about right after we played Syracuse was that we're going over there for a game. Mm-hmm. And our preparation and our practice was not about all the extra stuff. It was about us preparing to play our best basketball. And I really believe that on Saturday we played our best game. From an execution standpoint, defensively, one of the things that we talked about leading into that game is what we had to bring is fight. And I told them that there's three things that we've got to do is, we got to plant our feet, you got to stand our ground, and you're going to have to fight back. And I said, it's not about X's and O's. Like, we have to go over there and compete. And our guys went over there to compete. They competed defensively. They competed on loose balls. They competed rebounding the basketball on the offensive end. We weren't bothered by their pressure. We've always throughout the year have clearly determined what allows us to have success, playing good defense, rebounding the basketball, and taking care of the basketball. Yep. And so we got after it defensively in the second half. We out-rebounded them, and then we only turned the ball over five times. And so that puts us always in a good position, whomever we played. And I'm just the thing that I'm most excited about is, one of the things that I've desperately wanted for them is for each player to have their own story, their own testimony, their own memories of being in big-time games and making big shots in a Carolina uniform. And I didn't want to tell them any more of my stories or Sean May's his stories or Jeff Lebo his stories. I wanted them to have their own stories. So to be able to see the tears of happiness and the smiles and the hugs after the game, now they have stories. Now they have their own testimony and memories of being in that big time atmosphere and coming out and being successful.
Coach, Duke came in to the game leading the ACC in field goal percentage defense. They were third in scoring defense. Your team scored 94 points. It was the most against Duke this year. You shot nearly 50% for the game, and in that second half, almost 60%. What allowed you to execute the way you did offensively?
Well, first of all, I thought we played really good defense and we rebounded the basketball. Duke is really good at getting second chance opportunities, so it was important for us to limit them to one shot every possession. And I have always felt if we rebound the basketball, like, we're really good in transition. And so I really felt like we were able to get out in transition and be able to score, and that allowed us to have success on the offensive end. The other thing is we found success running ball screens, and our guards were able to get space to move and be able to get into the paint, and RJ was just absolutely fantastic. his awareness of when to shoot, when to pass, the pace in which he ran those plays put us in positions to get some great shots in a half-court set when we were going up against a set defense for Duke. And so I think a combination of both of those things, and then also, our ability to get to the free throw line. Statistically, we're the best free throw shooting team in the ACC. And so when we get to the free throw line, more times than not, we make them. And so that's a huge part of our offense as well. And all three of those things were clicking, particularly in the second half, and allowed us to get an unbelievable win on the road.
Carolina at the free throw line plus 13 as far as points scored in this game. Carolina plus 46 in the last 5 games of the regular season in this 5-game winning streak for Carolina at the free throw line. Coach mentioned getting in transition. 14 fast break points for Carolina. 12 of those came in the second half, though, when the Tar Heels were really able to uptick that shooting percentage, get out and score 55 points in the second half, 94 for the game. The first time you guys played Duke, you tried a lot of different defensive matchups. You didn't try that this time.
Nope.
What prompted the change, and then what'd you think about the way your guys did play? I know you've mentioned it a few times. You thought they played well. What did you think they did well defensively?
Well, I told them, I said, we're manning up. I said the 5 is guarding the 5, the 4 is guarding the 4, the 3 is guarding the 3, and we didn't do that in our first matchup. We tried to move things around, and at the end of the day, you're just going to have to compete. Like Duke has a number of unbelievable players, and so for us, we were trying in the first game mix and match, and then Armando got into foul trouble, and it just messed up the rotation. And I said, in this game, we're going over there 5-on-5. And, Brady, you're going to have to guard Paulo. Armando, you're going to have to guard Williams, okay? And so it was RJ, you're going to have to guard Keels. And he's probably going to have to post you up, and you're going to have to defend them. And I really felt like, the competitive mindset for us to be physical, to stand our ground and to fight back was the biggest difference. I felt like every catch, every pass for them, every position that they tried to get on the offensive end was met with resistance and was met with fight. And I think that was the determining factor. I don't think it was anything technique-wise. I just think it was a will and a want-to for us to be present defensively, and I felt like our guys did that pretty much the entire game.
Armando picked up a foul, rebound foul, maybe 3 minutes or so into the game, and you
took him right out.
What led you to take? And he sat for a while when he picked up that foul.
Yeah, well, I didn't. The first matchup, I let him stay in there, and he got the second foul.
Pretty quickly. So,
I always say a mistake is good if you recognize it, admit it, learn from it, and grow from it. And so I didn't want to make that mistake again. So as soon as he got the foul, I get in there and get him out. And because, Armando is just so important for us, defensively, protects the rim, he rebounds, and then his ability to score consistently, around the basket on the offensive end is just so valuable for us. And I just didn't want – it was such a physical game.
Yeah.
I just knew that at some point, and they were going at him, that there was a good chance he could pick up his second foul. And so I just wanted to preserve that. And, Puff came in there off the bench and played really sound minutes for us in the first half. We moved Leaky over at the 4, and it allowed, Armando to get a little bit of rest, but to stay out of foul trouble. And then we got him back in later in the first half.
Coach, Carolina's rotation has been talked a lot about this year. You've talked a lot about it this year. You rode those 5 guys the entire second half, and R.J. Davis, Brady Manick didn't come out of the game, and yet it did not seem like it affected their performance at all in this one.
No, it didn't, and I didn't even – when I looked at the stat sheet, I did not know I did not take out R.J. and Brady. And, in the second half, particularly, there was – like a couple timeouts back to back that gave our guys a good 5-minute break. And so it was almost if those 5 guys were all taken out at the same time. Right. And so I never felt like any one of them were tired. And at some points during the second half, there was some thought of making some substitutions, but then that player would make a play, and then we would make a run, and I never wanted to break that momentum. And I just felt like that 5 wasn't tired. I felt like they were working well together, and I did not want to stop the momentum.
We could talk about this game forever, of course, but let me ask you about one more thing about the game itself, and then we'll take a break and get into some other stuff. it felt like a really important part of the game was the end of the first half. Duke had gone on the big run, and then you guys were able to cut it down to 2 right before the break. Just felt like a really key sequence.
Oh, it was. They after Griffin hit that 3,
Yep.
They were really poised to really make a big run, and I think they took the lead almost to 9, and then
Yes.
they were able to get to the free throw line. They missed 2 1-and-1s. I think Paulo and Keels missed 2 1-and-1s to put it in double figures. But that sequence, Caleb hit a 3 out of bounds underneath. They lost him. And then RJ being able to hit that 3 at the end of the first half, that gave us life. We went into halftime and we said, they shot 58% from the field in the first half, and we're only down by 2.
Yep.
And that just energized us, and it gave us life, it gave us hope, it gave us confidence that if we got after it defensively and we continued to take care of the basketball and rebound, that'll put us in a really good position. And I thought that stretch was the biggest stretch of the game, where we were able to close that gap and go into halftime with a lot of confidence.
All right, we're going to take a timeout. We still have a ton to talk about with Coach. We are going to talk about all ACC teams and more from around this Duke game, too. Plus, we have a bunch of questions to get to as well. It's the Hubert Davis Show from Learfield. Welcome back to the show. Do want to get to all ACC teams in a second. We're going to discuss that. Armando Bacot named first team all ACC. Leaky Black all defensive team. We'll get Coach Davis's thoughts on some of that in just a second, but wanted to ask you a couple more things about the Duke game, Coach. Points in the paint. Duke's tough to keep out of the paint, period, because they do drive the ball so hard and are so big at every position. It was 30-12 in the first half, points in the paint, Duke. Second half, Carolina 28, Duke 22. Mm-hmm. So better offensively for you guys. And, again, you're never going to stop them from getting points in the paint, but it seemed like they were more difficult in half number 2 for them.
It was. That was an emphasis that we were talking about at halftime, and that, in the first half, they were just dominating points in the paint. It was post-ups, it was offensive rebounds, and for the most part, it was just drives, straight drives, right, all the way to the basket. And, one of the things that we were saying is our help side defenders were hugging the Duke players. And, we needed to be in those gaps. And, the reason why is because, not only can Duke score at the basket, they're really good shooting the ball from the outside as well. And so, you don't want to give up a layup, but, you don't want to give up a 3. And so and that's why they're one of the better teams in the country, because they're very difficult to defend. And so at halftime we said, we've got to be committed to protecting the paint. And so those drives have to be met with help side defenders. And if they spray it out and they hit 3s over a hand, then we'll live with that. That's the shot that we want to give up, not a wide open 3, a wide open layup. And so I thought in the second half we did a much better job of being in the gaps. Help side defenders were at the midline, and so any type of dribble drive, penetration to the bucket, it was met with North Carolina guys. And I think that was the determining factor of why we were able to limit their points in the paint so much more in the second half.
Duke took 13 three-pointers in the second half after taking just 6 in the first half, made 4 of those 13 in half number 2. Coach, obviously a lot of excitement around this win for a lot of different reasons for Tar Heel fans, but for this team this year, your group of guys, such an important victory. What were those moments like for you afterwards, locker room, bus ride, any of that stuff with your guys afterwards?
It was unbelievable. The experiences and the memories that I have and the stories that I have that I've been able to experience with them all year, but specifically after that game. After we shook hands, with Duke and went back in the locker room, and I was waiting right outside of the locker room just to kind of collect my thoughts and just trying to figure out what just happened here. And Armando comes in, and we just had a long hug, and he's crying. And then Brady comes in, and he joins the hug. He's crying. Then Leaky comes in. He's joining the hug. He's crying. And then RJ comes in, and just having those type of moments and emotions. And I've always told them that I love when they show emotion, because it means that they care. And, the emotions outside, in the locker room, in the huddle, were magical. And those are memories that I will have for a lifetime. And being able to get on that bus and drive down to Franklin Street and be able to celebrate with the students and the fans and seeing our guys out there experiencing what I experienced as a college player here, and Coach Lebo and Coach May. And it was such a joy to be able to see that. And just to add on, just the last couple of years with COVID and, just so many things that they experienced that weren't typical of a regular college experience, to be able to have that on that night that way just has an unbelievable smile on my face. And it still hasn't hit me, and be able to put it in perspective, not just what happened on Saturday, but like this entire season. This team has gone through a lot with COVID and roster changes and new coach and coaching staff, new players, transfers. And for us to be in a position where we were seeded third but tied for second in the ACC, and after the Pittsburgh game, we win 5 games in a row. This team has always bounced back. Their toughness, their resilience. It's just been a really special year, and it's not done yet.
Sure,
but so far it's been unbelievable.
Tar Heels closed the regular season winning 5 in a row, as Coach mentioned, 11 of the last 13, and as Coach said, tied for second in the ACC. Tar Heels will be the 3rd seed in the upcoming ACC tournament. Okay, let's take a break. We're going to get to that all-ACC discussion with Coach and get to your questions after this. It's the Hubert Davis Show from Learfield. Welcome back to the show. My name's Jones Angel, along with the head coach of the Tar Heels, Hubert Davis. Coach mentioned this a couple of times since we started. All ACC teams announced earlier today. Armando Bacot, the only Tar Heel on either of the 3 teams. He was the leading vote getter in total, but was not ultimately named ACC Player of the Year. That went to Alondas Williams from Wake Forest. Caleb Love, Brady Manick, both named honorable mention All ACC. Leaky Black is on the All-ACC defensive team, but not named Defensive Player of the Year. That went to Mark Williams of Duke. And I know and you don't play for the individual recognition, but it certainly felt like Armando in particular had a great case to be Player of the Year. I'm sure he's excited to be first team. He earned that, but I know also a little disappointed that he didn't get that ultimate Player of the Year honor. Well,
first of all, I wanted to congratulate Alondas Williams for getting ACC Player of the Year. It is much earned and deserved. The year that he has had has just been historic. I mean, his ability to be one of the top scorers in the ACC, but also lead the ACC in assists, and his ability on both ends of the floor in his first year in the ACC, as I said before, hasn't been done before, and it's been historic. And so I wanted to congratulate him in Wake Forest, because their program and Alondas has had an unbelievable season. I will say that I am disappointed that Armando wasn't named ACC Player of the Year, because I think there were 2 players that were deserving, and Armando was one of them. Yeah. And I wanted that for him. The year that Armando has had has also been historic in the ACC. Absolutely. And also here. It's been consistent. It's been definitive and clear, and all of his hard work and commitment this summer to put himself in a position where he would even be mentioned as ACC Player of the Year puts a big smile on my face. And I just personally wanted that for him, and especially the way that he ended the regular season over at Duke. In the game that he has had, I think now he's broken Bryce's record for double-doubles. And
so he's tied with Bryce for double-doubles, and he's set the record for games with double-figure rebounds. So he has that one. He's still tied with Bryce for double-doubles, but, of course, has some more games to play, so has a chance to break it.
Yeah, and, but one of the things that we've talked about with our players all the time is, it's nice to be recognized. It's nice to be noticed. It is nice to get awards, but that's not why you play, and that's not why you compete. And why you play and why you compete is, for first and foremost, is the love of the game and the love for this team and for this program and just being the best that you can be. And so even though that I'm disappointed and I know that Armando is disappointed, there's no way that Armando and myself wouldn't have a huge smile on our face on what an unbelievable year Armando has had thus far. And I'm just so proud of him. He's a great kid. Last semester he was on the dean's list, and so, you know, he's killing it on the court, in the classroom, in the community, and that's exactly what our expectations are for all of our players.
Coach, let's get to some questions, and we have a bunch. We'll start with Rob Coles. Rob sent this one in and was wondering if you could talk about Leaky Black and Brady Manick's individual defense in this game against Duke. We talked some about the matchups and difficult matchups for anybody. Rob was just wondering about your thoughts on those two individuals defensively.
Well, Leaky is Leaky. You know, anybody that we put on them struggles to score, struggles to catch the ball, struggles to get into a rhythm. And, you know, A.J. Griffin had 27 against us in the first matchup, and I said I wish that I could have divided Leaky into 2-3 parts to be able to guard Paulo and Griffin and Moore. And he had the job of being on Griffin, and he did a fantastic job, and he's done that all season. His length, his athleticism, his commitment on the defensive end. Not only is he one of the best defenders in our conference, he's one of the best defenders in the country, and just didn't surprise me that whomever he guarded, it would be very difficult to get a clean look and get into a rhythm offensively. And then I thought Brady was fantastic against Paulo. Obviously, Paulo is one of the better players in the country. He's just gifted. Yeah. He can score anyway, and he's aggressive. But the thing that I liked about Brady is he competed. And so every catch, every move, every possession was fought with Brady, and he competed, and every shot was contested. He boxed them out every play. He met every move with physicality, and he competed on every play on both ends of the floor the entire game. And I'm so proud of Brady and what he did defensively, as well as knocking down 5 threes in that game.
Yeah,
as well.
That didn't hurt, too. That part didn't hurt. Griffin, by the way, finished with 5 points on 5 shots. Banchero did have 23 points, took 26 shots to get those 23 points. Of course, both excellent players, and
yes.
But Tar Heels made them work, and that's what you got to do against players like that. Coach, this one comes from Bill. It's Bill wanted to know. Bill Latrent sent this in. Curious about the transfer portal and how you try to effectively use it without recruiting over a high school player, or how you try to balance both of those things where you're recruiting somebody out of high school, but also know that you may need to go get somebody in the portal.
Well, I think, there's, in terms of building a team, there's a number of factors that you have to think about is, and I've always said that I want a combination of both. I want young guys, but you also have to have experienced guys as well. And so I couldn't imagine where our team would be if we didn't have Brady Manick.
Right.
And so his 4 years of experience and playing in the Big 12 allows him to go to Cameron and be able to play a game without being scared or affected by the crowd or the scenario. And so I really believe there's got to be a combination of youth, but also experience. And so the transfer portal is real, and it's here to stay, and it's a part that we'll actively use in order to put ourselves in a position as a program to achieve all of the goals that we want. And that's really important for us. But I do believe in a mixture of having young players, but also having some experienced players. And then the other factor, Jones, is it's got to be Carolina guys.
Right. Find the right fit.
This place isn't for everyone. One of the reasons that we wanted Brady is because he wanted to be a part of something bigger than just himself. He wanted to be a part of this program, this university, and this community. And, that's what we ask our guys to do. Obviously we want them to have long, successful individual careers professionally in the NBA, but we also want them to unpack their bags and fully dive into the experience of being a student athlete here at the University of North Carolina. So you need a combination of both to make things fit for this program.
This one comes, Coach, from Austin. Austin asked if you feel like Caleb has realized more and more as the year has gone on how he can impact the game positively by doing other things than just scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, he does. I think he's learning that more and more every game. He's very gifted. From an offensive standpoint, because of his size and athleticism, he can create a shot anytime he wants to on the offensive end. I just feel like throughout the year he's gotten better at understanding what a good shot and what a bad shot is, and when to pass and when to shoot.
Yep.
And I really feel like, towards the end, especially in the second half of the Duke game, he was really good. He took good shots, and when he got into the lane, his passing was really good. He had 5 assists. Yep. I think we're 14-0 this year when Caleb has 5 assists or more.
Yep.
And I tell him that before every game.
Just a reminder.
Just a reminder, just to let you know how important his playmaking skills is, not only to him, but how important it is to our team. And so Caleb is getting better at that throughout the year, and he continues to improve, and it's made him have a really good year this year.
5 assists, just 1 turnover for Caleb Love and Cameron, including the pass on maybe the signature play of the game where Armando Bacot had the big dunk late to help put an exclamation point on Carolina's victory. Okay, let's take a timeout. More questions to get to with Coach when we return. It's the Hubert Davis Show from Learfield. Back on the Hubert Davis Show. Appreciate you being with us and have enjoyed being with you all season long. Show will continue through the postseason with Coach as we have handled the show in the past. Our plan is to have a show up until 1 week after the Tar Heels are done playing. So we hope it's a long time from now that we still have a whole nother month plus having shows, but we will continue to talk to Coach on Mondays as we move through the postseason with the Tar Heels. And you're a big part of the show, of course, with your questions. And let's get to the refuel question of the night. It's going to give our winner a $25 gas gift card, courtesy of Refuel, fountain drinks with chewy ice, guaranteed fresh coffee, and high-performance gasoline. Refuel, fresh-made convenience. Coach, this one comes from John, sent in this email. John was curious, what are some adjectives you would use to describe your team now that maybe you wouldn't have used earlier in the year at the beginning of the season?
Wow, that's a great question. I first of all, I love coaching this group. I just genuinely enjoy not just coaching them. I enjoy being in their lives and being around them. It brings me such great satisfaction and joy just to be a part of their lives, and I love when they, not just the times on the court, but also up in the offices and when we have breakfast or lunch or dinner places. It's the relationships that you build with these players and their families is something that's really important and very dear to me. One of the things that I'm very proud that I can say of this team that I can definitively say now is how tough they are and how resilient they are, and their will and their want to and their fight. You always in life get knocked down, and when you do get knocked down, you have a choice of being able to stay down and whine and complain and make excuses and point fingers, or you can get back up and continue to compete. And that's what this team has proven. It's a team of toughness. It's a team of resiliency, because every time that they have gotten knocked down, they've gotten back up. And that is a team of perseverance. And that is saying that about this team is, to me, the highest praise that you can give to an individual and you can give to a team.
Good question, John. Refuel question of the night. We'll get in contact with you here shortly to get your information, to get you that $25 gas gift card, brought to you by Refuel Fresh Made Convenience. A couple more questions, Coach. This one comes from Austin. Austin Williams sent this one in. Wanted to know about RJ running the point, Caleb playing off the ball a majority of this game, really, in Durham. Certainly that's something we've seen at times. Both those guys have had the ball in their hands throughout the year. But you talked about RJ early. Felt like he was just in the rhythm of the game. And
he was on point.
Yeah, made a bunch of good decisions.
No, he was on point, and he was brilliant. He just really was. Not one time did they post him up. And so from a defensive standpoint, he planted his feet, he stood his ground, he fought back. So proud of him. Offensively, he made everything work on the offensive end. You know, his poise, his decision-making, his shot-making, he was in the zone. And he's been in the zone the entire season. You know, the season he's had, you know, the growth from last year to this year has been dramatic. I thought he should have won Most Improved Player of the Year.
Yep, taking some big steps forward.
Huge steps forward. And just the decision-making that he made in that game, in that environment, was historic. You know, the shots that he made, the three right before the first half, as I told you before, gave us life and confidence. When he got into the lane, he knew when to pass it, whom to pass it to, when to take shots, and he really controlled the game for us. And one of the benefits for us and why I love having two guys out there on the floor that can run the point. You know, before I came into coaching, I never looked at it that way. And then we had Marcus Page and Joel Berry.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, I really like this. You know, teams can't press you. They can't take you out of your offense because we got two primary ball handlers. And I've just grown to love it. And I will always have two playmakers out there on the floor because I just think it makes our team better. And so going back and forth with RJ and Caleb gives us tremendous versatility, but RJ was really good against Duke, and he's been really good the entire season.
All right, still have a little bit more to do. Still a lot more to do with Coach. Let's take another break. We'll get to a few more questions. Then we're going to look ahead to the week for the Heels, how they're handling moving up to Brooklyn, and, of course, the upcoming ACC tournament. All still to come on the Hubert Davis Show from Learfield. Heading towards the end of the show here for a Monday, March the 7th. Thanks so much for being with us. Tar Heels coming off that exciting 94-81 victory over Duke on Saturday, heading to Brooklyn and the ACC tournament. We'll talk about that event in our final segment coming up in just a moment. Want to sneak in maybe one more question or two more questions here, Coach. Donnie sent this one in, and Donnie said he heard you talking to your team about trying to deny the ball to Banchero and others for Duke, and especially in the spot where they like to catch it. And Donnie's question was, how does that affect things in your mind when you are making it difficult for guys not just to easily catch it, but to easily get where they want to be?
Well, you never want a team to be able to run their offense like they do and shoot around. And
Right.
So, any way that you can disrupt it by, pressuring the ball, pressuring the pass, trapping, being able to take people out of their sets. And, from an offensive standpoint, it's all about rhythm. And so denying players the ball, making them work harder to catch the ball, making them catch the ball one or two steps out further takes teams out of their rhythm. And that's exactly what we wanted to do against Duke. And that's exactly what we want to do defensively. And so I really felt like we did a much better job of that, especially, compared to the first game that we played against Duke. And we just made every cut, every pass, very difficult for them. And our pressure on the ball I thought was really good in combination of being able to contain the ball and not allow guys just to get to the rim, especially in the second half. And so those are things that we talked about. And, if you make somebody work harder on the offensive end, then that takes energy from them on the defensive end as well. We never want anybody to be able to rest because of our lack of effort and will and want to on the defensive end. So there's a number of reasons why, we love that type of pressure, and it worked really well against Duke on Saturday night.
Coach, last one. This one comes from Clay Hubert. Clay sent this question in via email, wondering about how you have tried to continue to cultivate the family-like relationship within Carolina basketball and with your players.
I don't know how else to run a program. My 4 years here, it's been tried and tested and proven successful, and I experienced it. It wasn't, just about basketball here. It was, a large part, it was about relationships with the coaches, the managers, the secretaries, everyone affiliated with our program. And so that's the foundation piece of what makes this place the best place in the country, is the relationships and the time spent with each other, just not on the court, but off the court as well. And so I've said this a number of times. I'm not doing my job if the only thing that I'm doing is coaching basketball, and I'm not doing my job if the only thing I'm doing is spending time with the players on the court. It's more than that. And the emotions, the tears, and the hugs after the game at Duke wasn't just about the game. It was about our shared experiences that we've had over the last 11 months.
Of course, the Tar Heels hope to have some more experiences over the next month. We'll talk about the next step, which is the ACC tournament. That's when we return to wrap things up on the Hubert Davis Show from Learfield. Tar Heels heading up to Brooklyn for the ACC tournament. Carolina, the number 3 seed, will not play until late on Thursday night. It's 9:30 scheduled tip for Carolina on Thursday evening. Virginia, Louisville, or Georgia Tech, the possible opponent in the quarterfinal round for Carolina. Coach, plans for the week? How do you guys prepare for this event? What are you guys going to be going through the next several days?
Well, we're going to have a really good practice today, and it's going to be lighter, and because we don't know whom we're going to play. Sure. But, the next couple days in terms of our practice and our play, even though we won't 100% know who we're going to play, there's things that we can prepare to put ourselves in a position to be successful, whomever we're going to play. And so we know on Thursday night it's going to be a team that is very talented, extremely well coached, and it's going to be a tough test. That's what the ACC tournament is about. But we're really excited about going up to Brooklyn and playing well. One of the things that I always say is let's concentrate on the game in front of us. Let's play as well as we can, and hopefully, they'll keep us around another day. And that's something that's really important for us. The ACC tournament is historic, and it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our team. And having an opportunity to participate in this tournament and have a chance to win a championship is something that we're looking forward to and very excited about.
Last thing, Coach, so much emotion on Saturday, just with that game, it being the end of the regular season, just all those different things.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to reset and recharge going into this week?
It won't be difficult at all because, the success that we've had, I've told the team that it should motivate you and energize you. The last 5 games, we've won the last 5, and I just feel like we're getting better. I've said this before, that our togetherness has been at an all-time high. I feel like our team is as healthy as it's been all season over the last month and a half, and it's just a really exciting time to head into tournament play. And so it's very easy to reset. It's very easy to go to practice and to prepare and to see how far we can go and experience the things that we have an opportunity to experience. So this is a really fun and special time for us, and we're really excited about it.
Again, it's 9:30 on Thursday, so a late one. We'll be on the air at 8:30 for that one. It's Carolina against either Virginia, Louisville, or Georgia Tech, depending on what happens in some games in Brooklyn. Coach, great to see you. Congratulations on Saturday. Congratulations on the regular season, and look forward to moving through the postseason.
All right. Thank you very much, Jones.
It's been the Hubert Davis Show from Learfield.